Hunters, thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 5, Episode 7, The Curious Case of Dean Winchester.
What did you think of this episode, Laura?
I did not write down an overall thought. I just wrote down that depressed Bobby breaks my heart.
See, that's the thing.
And yeah, but I think I liked it though. It was fun.
I like...
And sad. Just like all good supernatural episodes.
I feel like this is one of those episodes where I have really mixed feelings about it. Like, I want to like it, but also I don't like it. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I want to like it more than I currently like it. It's like Mystery Spot all over again. It's like I can see some parts of it are like really quite funny, and then other parts of it are unfunny. And the thing is, like, here's the thing that I'm going to say about Bobby. As somebody who is disabled and also who has lost the use of my legs before in the past and had to relearn to walk and been through a lot, like going down a similar arc to what happened to Bobby's character and feeling similar feelings to what he feels in this episode, like, I thought it was well done in a lot of ways. I thought it was really nice that they found a way to like have him make a point about accessibility, because there's one part of the show where like they're pursuing the bad guy and they have to go up flights of stairs because the elevator's out, and Bobby's like, well, that's me done. Like, yeah, that's me out. And Dean makes that really nice speech about like, you know, a soldier isn't useless just because he was wounded in battle. It's the opposite.
I liked that bit.
It was really, really nice. It was really well done, I thought, because like you do, if you suddenly lose something that you've been able to do, you feel awful. Like, it's such a frustrating feeling. Like, I remember it took me so long to teach myself to walk again. It was so unbelievably frustrating. And it's real. Like, the frustration is so real, and disabled people don't get a lot of great representation in cinema or TV. And I feel like this episode, it felt good to me personally. Like, I can't speak for everyone, but I felt that I could relate to it. And when this aired was like maybe 2 or 3 years after all of my issues. Yeah. And I just remember watching this episode. I think it's one of the reasons why it's a really hard episode for me to watch, because I relate to that part of the storyline really hard. Yeah, that sounds like it. So it's just, it's such a difficult episode. And then also, like, we all know I'm a big Jensen Ackles fan, and we don't get as much Jensen as we usually get. This guest actor is great. Like, he's literally great, but he's not my version of Dean. And that jars for me. And yeah, I was watching it and I was thinking, like, he's even a good actor. Like, I think he's doing a good job of trying to like mimic what Jensen does, but it just doesn't. My brain just goes, no, that's not Dean. The whole time, like literally the whole time, and I cannot get past it. And so, like, watching, like, I love watching Sam's parts. I love that Sam saves the day. I think that's fantastic. But yeah, just like, I can't dig my teeth into this episode at all for those reasons.
Yeah. I did make a note about Jensen, because there was it was like a few episodes ago where he played 2 characters, and this week he got the week off.
I was like, he was due for a break.
Yeah. And I wonder if it was because of that. Like, maybe they gave him a bit of a break.
Maybe it was like a welfare break.
Done so much in that episode. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point. But
yeah, I see what you. I hear what you mean, and I agree. I did find it funny, but I also didn't really like the character Patrick either. So it's like, he's just really like,
I have such
smarmy
mixed feelings.
The word that I would use.
Yeah, he's really charming, and the actor is very good looking. I've seen him in other things. Okay, now I'm just saying the factors for me personally. Yeah. I've seen him in other things. I thought he did a really good job of playing this character, because this character is dangerous. Part of you wants to love him, but also you understand that he's villainous at the same time. And so it's like it's hard to watch him.
Yeah.
Like there's elements to him that make him, to me personally, a little bit more complex of a villain than just someone that I'm just going to straight up hate. He clearly loves this woman so
Mm.
much. He's been loyal to her for hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years. Um, she is such a lovely character, and she's also played by an actress that I really, really like, um, who I've seen a lot of in a Hallmark like series that I just absolutely
Yeah.
comfort binge watch. She's fantastic. Um, also, I don't know, it's just like he has trickstery vibes. Like he has like fey fuckery vibes.
Yeah.
Um, villainous, but also with that like charm and the grin and stuff. And that to me makes things smoother. So like I'm not gonna deny that he's a smarmy character or that he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Um, but I just find him a lot more charming than a lot of the other bad guys. He's like the Spike of this episode,
Yeah.
for lack of a better explanation.
But he's definitely a good character. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just, it's that kind of guy. Like, I think it's that kind of like charming, but like fake,
Yeah.
like lying and all those kinds of things. I just, such a like turn off for me. And I
Yeah.
think overall that means that he just kind of gives me the ick a bit. But he's definitely a good character, especially for a villain.
Well, it's like he gives the old man extra years so he can go to his grandkids bar mitzvah.
Yeah, and how many
He
people did he
like
kill?
wait, hear me out. He the thing that got me was like he says that he has intuition about people and who good people are, right? This is where he gets me. This is his villainous turn. Is the guy who goes home to his wife dies. The guy who goes out to a brothel lives.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to hurt Sam, but he's willing to take Bobby's life. And I can't tell if that's because he intuited Bobby's darker desire, right?
Yeah.
And was like, "Oh, I'll help you out then." A case could be made for that probably. He doesn't want to take Dean's years, I don't think. Like you do get this like sly trickstery, like fast talking thing, but he warns them off. And considering how powerful he is, he could have done something so much worse when they broke into his house, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that he really attacks anyone directly is when he's sure that Sam and Dean are actively trying to kill him and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because if he dies, she dies. So I see that as him defending her the way that Sam would defend Dean or Dean would defend Sam. So that he's much more layered, I think, and I really, really enjoyed that. Like I agree with you, he is smarmy. Don't get me wrong. Like this dude traumatized that man by making him think that he killed him with all the broken neck and then gets up and then like steals his car. But I also just find that so funny. So like I don't know. I like him a lot. I really do like him as a character. I could have seen a lot more of him, honestly. Like I'm sad that it's like a one and done.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I did find a fun fact, which you probably already know. Did you know that the actor who plays Patrick was previously engaged to Rachel Miner, who plays Meg?
I did not know that,
Oh.
actually.
I put that in just because I know you like Meg, and
I love her.
so yeah, fun fact.
That is a fun fact. So my Hal Ozen fact is that he co-starred with Jensen Ackles in 6 episodes of Dawson's Creek.
Maybe
because he looks so familiar.
Yeah,
and I was like, what is he from? How do I know him? That's where I know him from, is freaking Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, I wonder if that was because it was like, I'm sure I recognize him, but not like this old. And I suppose it wasn't probably that long ago. But I did watch Dawson's Creek, but I didn't like watch all of them.
Yeah,
that was back in the day where if you missed one, you missed one. So,
yeah, 100%.
Young people,
days.
You won't understand that. If you missed an episode, you couldn't watch it until it came out on DVD.
Also, I was so surprised because Jensen Ackles and Jim Beaver were in an episode of Days of Our Lives together. I found a clip on Reddit, and Jim Beaver is playing a priest, and Jensen's playing Eric Brady.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, what? What? My mind was blown. I don't really like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, but that's obviously what the title is referencing. I thought that was a stupid movie, not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I think I only ever watched it once, and I was like, it's all right.
I know it. I feel like it won in like awards or something,
Yeah.
but no one that I knew in real life who saw that movie thought it was a good movie. I don't think I've ever met anyone who was like, yeah, that's an amazing award-winning film. So I don't know where that came from.
I don't remember thinking it was like really bad, but I do remember thinking like I was just a bit apathetic about it, I guess. I
was
watched
like,
it. It was all right.
What do you mean? He's an old man baby.
The creepy old man baby thing was freaked me out, obviously.
You were like, creepy
I remember
child. That. We also, in this episode, we learned that Dean's age is 30, according to this episode.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Yep.
Yeah, well, he's complaining of being, when you're my age.
Yeah.
It sounds like teen 30.
Yeah. And Supernatural Wiki noted something, like another little accessibility nod that I like, where they said that since Bobby is clearly driving at multiple points, he must have modified his van so that he could drive.
I know.
And that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, so like with the hand controls or something.
Yeah. So we're having more listeners write in, which is absolutely delightful. And one of our listeners, who's called Beck, wrote in to tell us that they had done this like stream of consciousness kind of notes on basically all of Supernatural. Like all of Supernatural. And I had a little peek and I was absolutely delighted. So you can find them on Instagram at bushel.and.a.beck. And I'll send Laura the link and she'll put it in the episode link for us. Yeah. But I was like, this is like, we're best friends now, I've decided. Like, this is just, it reminds me of us when we were first watching the show. And I just feel like they're so relatable. And also, I feel like I could turn a lot of their thoughts into legit memes.
I haven't had a chance to look yet, so I'm excited about what you're going to tell
me. I know. I love getting your reaction to stuff when you don't know what's going to happen. So, okay. This first one is from Everybody Loves a Clown. Beck writes, okay, this girl is an idiot for thinking this clown is friendly. She literally watched it follow her home and was excited.
Yeah, thank you. Is that not what I said in the episode?
That is pretty much exactly what you said. You guys were twinning. I thought that was amazing.
That clown was definitely not trustworthy.
Then we have this like flow, because Beck didn't write down what episodes were what. So there's somewhere I've figured out what episode is what, and I've put it in if I can. But this is the stream of consciousness in between this and the next set of episodes. If you can figure out which is which, let me know. So the next note is, why does everyone always lie to Sam? I feel so bad for him. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
This is obviously like that vampire episode, because the next note is, so Gordon is a dick. Which we can all agree with. And then also Supernatural is the only thing keeping me from having a breakdown about school for now. And I was like, when Supernatural was airing, I was at university. Yeah. Same. Okay, same friend, same. I really distinctly remember that exact feeling on multiple occasions. And I was just like, oh, the nostalgia, but also I relate so hard to you.
I was also technically at uni, but I wasn't watching it.
You just weren't watching. You were just like, what's Supernatural? I don't even know her. So then the next note is, this episode is making me mad. Dean is being a dumbass. Ugh. Like, you've also said that on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Then I knew there would be good vampires, and as soon as I saw the vampire girl running at the beginning, I caught on.
Yeah, that vampire episode was good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was, because it was like, what is her name who plays Tara? She was my vampire wife. I fell in love with her character.
Lenore?
Lenore.
Yeah.
Amber Benson is the actress, isn't she?
Yeah.
It was a fantastic episode. The next note is Ash is an icon, which I can get behind. Andy is an awesome character.
Actually. I forgot about Ash.
I know, right? Ash was amazing.
Until he was burnt to a crisp in a bar fire.
Yeah. So rude.
Poor Ash.
Poor Ash. Andy is an awesome character. I hope he becomes a recurring one, but I highly doubt it. Right?
Although he was in another episode.
He was, but he didn't get to stick around, did he? Which is annoying because Andy was one of the best side characters ever. He was amazing. His giant bong. Then the next note is like our rants from these seasons. They write, I want to know why everyone can control their abilities except Sam and Ava.
Yes, thank you. Sam has convenient abilities, as we always point out.
He really does. They come and they go because of the plot.
Yeah, only when it was convenient to the plot.
The next one is definitely from Shifter. And Beck writes, it just stresses me out at this point. Oh, damn, he got caught literally just having murdered the shapeshifter. That's unfortunate. Wait, how did they... What? Those aren't their bodies. But what? I'm so confused.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, right? It's just like a recap of everything that we were pretty much thinking and feeling. Hollywood Babylon. I picked this one out because I was like, this is an amazing paragraph. It's so clear that they are doing chants and accidentally summoning a demon. If that's not what's happening, I will eat my words. And I was right. Oh my god. The next one is from It's a Terrible Life. I'm on the episode where it's an alternate timeline and they're normal and Dean's corporate and Sam's tech support. Why would they not know each other? They're still brothers. Never mind. It was angels. Lol.
Never mind. It was angels.
Never mind. It was angels that would be a sticker. If we said that, it would be a sticker. Never mind. It was angels. If we adopt that, we're just quoting Beck. So again, Beck is on Instagram at bushel.and.a.beck. So go and check them out and maybe give them a follow if you like their supernatural sense of humor. It's a giant note. It's like all 15 seasons, I believe.
In one document.
So you may very well look forward to probably like a couple more snippets from this because I just had the time of my life. That was so much fun. Thank you again, Beck, for sending that in to us. Again, if you guys have supernatural things that you want to share with us, definitely throw them into our email. We love to hear from you.
Yeah. And we can do like a mailbag segment. Yeah. So I really want to bring a mailbag segment in.
I know. Well, we need like a whole bunch of content for that.
Yeah.
So we're definitely getting there with this note. That is definitely going to be very helpful for adding to the mailbag. But you guys who are listening, if you're shy, don't be shy, friend. Just go ahead and send in all of your supernatural things to us. Yeah, and we're just gonna like compile all of this into some kind of really sick, cool listener mailbag episode. We could do a whole bonus episode. We just need people to send in enough stuff. So
yeah. Is it too early to maybe we should do it for our like season wrap up? We can have everyone's thoughts about the season.
Yeah. That would be great. I would love that.
Send your thoughts to our email. It's in
Definitely.
It's in our show notes.
Tell us everything that you thought about season 5. Okay.
Yeah. The Witches
all
and
of
Letters
your thoughts
at gmail.com.
Beck has just given you an excellent example.
Yeah. Thank you, Beck.
Thank you, Beck. Okay. So moving swiftly along. Laura, could you please give us the synopsis for this episode?
Yeah. So this is season 5, episode 7, The Curious Case of Dean Winchester. The original air date for this episode was October 29th, 2009. Sam and Dean investigate when a 30-year-old man dies of old age. They discover multiple people have been either aging or getting younger and trace this back to a series of poker games where a 900-year-old witch called Patrick is making people play with years instead of cash. So if they win, they get younger, but if they lose, they get old and sometimes die straight away. They tell Bobby about it, who tells them that he's heard of this guy. Dean finds the bar Patrick is playing from, but when he does, Bobby comes out, having bet and lost. Dean plays Patrick to get Bobby's years back, but then loses 25 of his own, turning him into an old man. Sam, Dean, and Bobby try to find a way to stop Patrick and reverse Dean's aging, but it is Leah, Patrick's partner, who helps them. She gives them a spell that will reverse everything he's done. Dean and Bobby collect the items needed for the spell while Sam plays a game of poker with him to keep him busy, and also to try and get one of his toothpicks that Patrick is always chewing, so they have some DNA for the spell. Patrick works out what they're doing and tries to kill Sam, but Leah stops him. He then gets really, really angry and forces Sam to finish the game, but Sam manages to win, reversing Dean's aging. I feel that was long.
It was long. I was worried you weren't breathing enough.
Sometimes my synopses are long, and sometimes they're really short.
We did that thing where we spoke in perfect unison.
I love it when they do that.
Yeah, I was almost going to say that, and then I was a beat too slow to do it in unison again. Oh, well, maybe next time.
So the opening scene, a woman sits on her sofa reading a newspaper and her husband comes home. She greets him, but he runs past and goes upstairs, and she looks up and's like, nice to see you too. I thought that was funny.
Did you see what she was reading?
Oh yeah, I've written it down. The newspaper says, leading psychics agree the apocalypse is here. Experts confirm the end is upon us.
I thought that was so funny because it's supposed to be like the Inquirer, like the National Enquirer, and be like really unreliable, like tabloid weird press. But it's actually the truth. It was such a funny joke.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I had to pause it to write that down because I thought it was funny. He goes into the bathroom, runs some water and looks at himself in the mirror. And as he does, we see him grab the side of the sink and his hands start to go all wrinkly. Then we see his face turn really old too. He bends down to splash water on his face. And as he stands back up, we see his balding. He gets more wrinkles and then cataracts appear on his eyes. And my initial notes were just, oh no, he's turning old. He stumbles backwards, clutching his arm, smashing a cabinet behind him, prompting his wife to get up and run upstairs to check on him. She opens the door and screams.
It's kind of like Temple of Doom. You have chosen poorly.
Yeah.
And it just, death. I have a bone to pick with, listen, they're way more talented than I am. But with the special effects in this episode, I want to know why his death scene looks so good, and then Leah's death scene looks like they painted one CGI plate on front of her or something. Okay?
Yeah.
It's just like superimposed over her barely. And then there's nothing.
Yeah. And she doesn't
They didn't even put her in old lady makeup or anything.
Yeah.
What happened? Why? For why?
This guy as well, who plays, so Xavier is this guy's name. He was also in another Supernatural episode. He was in Are You There, God? It's Me, Dean Winchester. And he played Ghostly Man.
Ghostly Man.
And in my normal fashion, I forgot to look that up.
No, I believe it though. Did you know that Anywhere But Here fangirl, who's actually going to be guesting on our next episode, is doing a fun game on her page where you can pick your favorite like guest actor, like just random guest actor. Now she sometimes allows it if they've had one other small bit part in another episode, but no big recurring spots. So like he could be one of the people.
It couldn't be like Sterling K. Brown because he's had too many episodes.
He's had too many episodes. It has to be like somebody like this guy. But if you guys have a favorite kind of like background actor who's like either a one-off guest appearance or somebody like this, if you really enjoy their performance, you can go on her Instagram and play that game. She's posted it like a few times, and I think she's kind of playing it like weekly, maybe.
Okay.
So don't forget to check that out if you want to play that game.
What was the guy in? We gave him MVP.
I
Bugs.
keep racking my brains trying to figure out what mine would be, and I cannot figure it out.
The guy in Bugs.
Yeah,
the like native guy who helps them sort of.
I think the character's name is Joe Whitetree.
Yeah, him.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know what mine is. Although he's fucking epic. The Pizza Man from Monster Movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did
He's
you
definitely got to
ask
be up
for
there.
garlic? No, then.
Yeah, he's good. There we go. We've got two.
We've got two. I'm gonna have to Navia does listen, so she knows already. It might be redundant for me to write it down at this point. I don't know. Navia, tell us if you want us to also write it down. But I'm trying to do podcast math.
This is going to be in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I was trying to figure out if she'll hear this before the guest spot or not.
Oh, no.
She'll be on the guest spot and then she'll hear this. My mind was we'll doing what you do. I was doing what you do, where where it's a time loop episode, and I'm like, oh, I understand this, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? That's how I am with podcast time.
I am like that usually, but with podcast time, my brain is a bit better at it. I don't know if it's because I edit it, maybe.
I think because you edit it, you're better at it. If somebody shows me a really weird loop-to-loop time warp episode, I can usually make it make sense. But podcast time makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. There's so many people who've have given them shout outs or something. I'm like, yeah, it's next week, and then it's not next week at all.
No. And because I have to have I've got 3 episodes on the go at once in my brain, because I'm the one we're recording, the one I'm writing notes about, and the one I'm editing.
Yeah, Laura needs a round of applause.
But
also, I'm just saying, you guys who are listening now, if I have given you the wrong time before, that's why. Because I don't understand podcast time. I couldn't understand podcast time if you put a gun to my head and told me my life depended on it. I'd be like, Laura, save me. So we're at the morgue now.
Oh yeah, this doctor is funny.
Yeah. So they see a doctor, and she says, "You expect me to believe you're CDC?" And Dean looks at Sam like, "Oh fuck." And Sam just says, "Excuse me," giving nothing away. Stanford Sam. And the doctor says, "It's just that you're a day early. First time in history I haven't had to sit on my ass waiting for you people." And Dean says, "New administration, a change you can believe in." The doctor's like, "Right."
Is that Obama? It would have been Obama, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
At this time. I thought that was hilarious, because you can tell their face, for a split second, they're like, oh no, we've been found out. We're finally being called out for our fake IDs. But no.
It's amazing. So they look at the corpse, and the doctor says that, he was born in 1984. And
yeah.
They all exchange these looks, and she says, "I know, I ran the DNA twice. It's definitely him." And Dean's like, "Well, he wasn't big on the sunscreen, huh?" And Sam's like, "So what's your theory?" And the doctor says, "All I know is male, 25 years old, and he died of old age." And it's all dramatic and whatnot.
I liked the shot, when they pull the body out of the drawer, I guess. Yeah. When the camera was inside. Drawer. I love it when they do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So then Dean is on the phone, and Dean says, "You're right about this one. It's definitely a job." And then we cut to Bobby's living room where he's talking. He says, "Thought so. Any other stiffs in town?" And Dean says, "Just the one body." And Bobby says, "Anything else?" And Dean says, "Couple missing persons, but usual for a town this size." Bobby says, "Well, check him out." I love how he's their dad. He's just like, "Just do it." Dean says, "You think they're connected?" And Bobby says, "Call it a hunch." Dean says, "You got it. And by the way, how you doing?" And Bobby's like, "Doing?" And Dean's like, "Yeah, just in general." And it's really awkward because of the way he says it, and we all know what he means. Bobby says, "Oh, you mean my legs? Well, I'm just weeping in my Haagen-Dazs, idiot." And then he hangs up. And I was like, good for you, Bobby. Good for you.
I love it when he says idiot. He says it again later.
His sass. It was well-deserved sass, too. It was like, I know that Dean's trying to, check in on him, and he loves him and everything. But there's a way in which he says it that feels kind of pitying, and Bobby's like, fuck you. That's how I read it anyway, and I was like, yeah, I understand that feeling, Bobby. I do.
Yeah. I just wrote after this that he hangs up on him, because Bobby hangs up on Dean, and we then see Bobby in his dark room in his wheelchair looking really sad, and I just wrote, poor Bobby is depressed.
Yeah.
Poor Bobby.
Yeah. He also handles stress like me, where he pushes people away.
Yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah, it's very relatable. This is
Yeah.
obviously why we love Bobby as much as we do, because he's got all of our toxic traits.
Yeah. Yeah, he's basically us if we were an old man.
He's us if we were an
Us
old
in
man. It's
like
got to be
20
like the
years.
quote of the episode. Us in like 20 years.
It's gonna be in 20
When we
years.
morph into an old man.
I'm gonna be Bobby.
No, I'm just picturing it like it's like Transformers. We just transform into Bobby. We unite and transform into Bobby.
Well, I've already got some of the I can be grumpy sometimes and sassy.
This is very true. Can confirm. Oh my god.
So at the house of one of the missing people that teens found out about, a woman shows Sam and Dean a recent picture of her missing husband, Clint. They ask how long he's been missing. She says she knew something was up when he didn't come home on Tuesday. And she says he normally works late, but then always comes home. Sam notices a tattoo Clint has on his forearm during the scene, which is important for later. Dean excuses himself and goes snooping through Clint's things, and in a jacket pocket he finds a receipt for a brothel, and he says, "Working late my ass." And then we cut to the brothel.
We do cut to the brothel. Okay, so sidebar. We've actually spoken about this a little bit before, but it bears repeating, and we summarize it. It's been so long, and we have a lot of new listeners, so I thought it was worth it to make this point again. So Asian women, the representation of Asian women on American TV tends to be really sexist and problematic and fall into some really bad stereotypes. So I've pulled some academic sources to talk about it, and I'm just going to read a little bit from them. You may have heard this a little bit before, but I feel like I found some new information, so I think it'll still be valuable. So, what I'm about to read to you comes from an academic paper that was written by Mihori Umeda, talking about the history of representation of Asian people throughout American cinema, like going back from the very beginning until the 2000s and maybe a little bit beyond. It's a really good read. If you want to read the entire academic paper, it is available for free, and I've linked the link to the PDF in my show notes. So the paper reads, another Asian woman's stereotype is the China doll. China doll means Asian women who are supposedly sexually active, exotic, overly feminine, and eager to please. The current views about Asian women are rooted in the history of Asian women's immigration to the United States. An article published in the Daily Alta California in 1852 stated that Chinese women in California were, quote, queer and diminutive specimens of the human family, end quote. In 1854, the Municipal Committee in San Francisco reported that most Chinese women in the city were, quote, so I'm gonna change some of the wording to sex workers, but we know what the paper says. Obviously, it's an academic and historic resource, so it's quoting the phraseology that was used at the time. So it says in 1854, the Municipal Committee in San Francisco reported that most Chinese women in the city were sex workers, and this became the general conviction. In 1858, an article in Harper's Weekly described Chinese women as having, quote, grotesque hairstyles, bound feet, and a grotesque manner of dress, end quote. In 1875, Congress passed the Page Law, which prohibited Chinese, Japanese, and other Asian women from immigrating to the U.S. as sex workers. Medical experts, politicians, and anti-Chinese groups continued to argue that corruption and contamination were caused by Chinese sex workers. By 1880, the number of Chinese women decreased to 3,171, and 759 Chinese were listed as sex workers. On the other hand, between 1880 and 1890, a small number of Japanese women came to the U.S. as picture brides. Brides in Japan and grooms in America would exchange photos of themselves before agreeing to marry. However, within a few decades, many Japanese men started to take their wives with them to the U.S. In 1900, there were 985 Japanese women in the U.S. The U.S. allowed Japanese women to join their husbands in the Gentlemen's Agreement of 1907 and 1908. By 1910, there were 38,303 Japanese women in the US. Americans used the Japanese custom of importing picture brides to indicate the differences between Japanese and white culture. This custom led to the wrong belief that many of the women who immigrated as picture brides were sex workers. From 1910 to 1921, more than one third of Japanese marriages were by picture bride systems. So basically, it establishes that there were already racist beliefs. Like there are things that occur earlier than this section that I've read out, like representations in popular cinema and things like that. Basically, always exotify and lead to the idea that Asian women are sex workers, that they're somehow a threat to white culture, that there's somehow like some invading force. And you can see how threatened people are by these press releases and articles, and people just double down on the racism consistently. So then when we do get representation of Asian women, even now, and as recently as like Full Metal Jacket, which I quoted in the last time we covered this
Yeah.
topic, with the different kinds of like sexist stereotypes that Asian women face, we get these portrayals that are still rooted in things like the page law that was passed, which is just labeling every single Asian woman borderline as sex workers. And it's like, no, you
Yeah.
can't immigrate here because you're all sex workers.
Which also just shows how sexualized the whole thing is.
Yes,
Like, that's all they see them as, which
exactly.
is racist and sexist.
Exactly. Thank you, Laura. So then I have another clipping. This article was written by Alona Barrera and discusses how the United States government condoned discrimination specifically against East Asian women. And Alona talks about cultural influences influencing law, and law then in turn influencing culture. And that we get a hypersexualization in the West, especially in the United States. The Page Act of 1875 was the nation's first restrictive immigration law and was specifically targeting Chinese women, banning East Asian women, like we discussed, from entering under the assumption that they were all sex workers. And this begins this long tradition of Asian women being seen as sexually deviant in the eyes of United States law and culture. The law explicitly stated that the prohibition was due to Chinese women entering the nation for, quote, immoral purposes. Discrimination against these women came from their perceived sexuality, from the false notion that all Chinese women were on some level sex workers. The concept terrified white Americans who feared that these women would corrupt their society and decrease the white population in the United States by having children with white men. Although the act is no longer in place, I know. KKK, am I right?
Yeah.
Like, although the act is no longer in place, scholar Courtney Sato argues that the 1875 Page Act, quote, is a precursor to the dehumanizing narratives and tropes that render Asian women as objects of sexual fetishization, end quote.
They were really using their collective one brain cell for that.
100%. Like the United States is, you know, a hotbed of white supremacy, and this is a really good example of that. My country is so disappointing. So
I'm not saying anything.
No, it is. Like, look at right now.
Well,
like,
yeah.
Look.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, I know. I did not pick up on that, to be fair, but you are sarcastic a lot, so yeah, it went over my head.
Don't know what you
yeah.
mean. No, I'm not.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, so like this Chinese brothel, this representation of these women as only sex workers, like we've seen this before on Supernatural. We've seen it a few times on Supernatural. It's not ideal. And so you're welcome for these educational resources, basically. If you look for it, you'll see it a lot more. Like once you realize that it's a thing, you'll see it a lot more, and you can notice it in many other films and movies. It's definitely a good thing to just discuss and be aware of so that we can make sure that we're preventing it. So if we see something newer or more recent, we can make sure that we're speaking up about it.
Yeah.
So we cut to the brothel,
Mhm.
and Sam and Dean are walking along the corridor. And Sam says, well, at least he's consistent. Same room every Tuesday, hourly rates. Dean says, I hope I got that kind of kick when I'm his age. Because also, Dean is disgusting Dean. Oh, I finally coined a term for him. So when
Disgusting
Dean
Dean.
is all deviant, disgusting Dean, when we're deviating off of what I believe to be the true core character nature of Dean Winchester, who can be kind of gross and kind of a man whore. Okay, I will
Yeah.
admit to that, but I think this is not so much. Like, I don't think that this is how he would really feel. So this is deviant Dean. Okay, okay, guys. So I hope I get that kind of kick when I'm his age. Sam says, yeah, like either of us will live that long. And Dean goes, true. And I'm like, wait, way to be optimistic, guys. Sam says, so what do you think's in there? And they pause. And then Dean says, a wrinkly, gooey corpse. And they
Ew.
stop outside the room. Sam pulls out his lockpick key and breaks into the room. And then somebody starts shouting from inside the room. And he's screaming, oh God, oh God, oh God. And, we're supposed to think that he's being murdered, but it's obviously not that. And he's naked in bed with one girl we see at first, and Sam goes, oh, and Dean goes, God. And then another woman comes out from under the covers, and Sam goes, it's gooey. And then both of the women flee.
Ew.
And Dean says, sorry, I got the wrong room. And the man says, close the door. And like they were both obviously Asian women, and they're both basically naked, and it's very hypersexualizing and just like
Yeah.
very problematic. Hence the academic paper reading. So here we are. you know? And then Sam sees the USMC tattoo and is like, oh, nice tattoo. Because he's Stanford Sam. He's smart. Smart Stanford Sam. And he says, happen to know anybody named Cliff Whitlow? And he shakes his head, never heard of him. And Sam's like, well, that's weird. He pulls out the ID and says, because you're carrying his wallet. And Dean goes over to the bed and yanks up the covers underneath. And when I was watching this, I was like, what the fuck is happening? This
Yeah.
is so weird because he just like looks at this naked man
Mm.
and goes, huh, and then drops the sheets. Your wife told us about your birthmark there. That's nice. Well, you look great, Cliff. Did you have some work done? And he
But
shakes his
why would
head.
she have said that as well? Well, in case they need to identify a body, I guess.
I guess
Is that
that's
what we're supposed to
why.
believe?
Where is this birthmark? Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was just disturbing.
Somewhere
that
in
he's
his nether regions.
It's just disturbing. Like, it's disturbing to me because we know he was literally just doing sex things, and then you're looking at his naked body. Why? You already have his wallet. It just feels like, I know it's
Yeah.
supposed to be funny, but I was like, ugh, sex things. Ugh. So yeah, Cliff says, "Could you give us some privacy?" And the two women who are like silent, now have robes on, and Dean winks at them because, of course, and then goes back to glaring at Cliff. And Cliff also has a robe on now and hands them some money before they leave. He closes the door behind them and then says, please don't tell my wife. And Dean says, slow down. And he says, like, I'm begging you, as far as she knows, I'm dead. For the love of God, let's keep it that way. And I was like, wow. Wow.
Don't lie to your wife, Cliff.
Well, he's been seeing prostitutes this entire time. So, sorry, he's been seeing sex workers this entire time.
Even before he was young again.
Mm-hmm. Old men. It's just like, why
I know.
and then like Dean, like old dude Dean is like meh, meh, meh. And she's like, you're like my grandfather, you hit on everything that moves. And it's so true. It's such a true stereotype, and it's so disturbing. It's like, why would you hit on someone who is like the age of your grandchild?
Granddaughter. Yeah,
that is so unbelievably disturbing.
Yeah. And it's so common in like things like this, like this kind of media.
Yeah. It's sadly common in real life too. Speaking from personal experience. If you're an old dude, don't hit on a young girl to make you feel young again. That's
And it's
gross.
almost like in a bar, like
Stop trying to use us.
Yeah. Are you talking about when you used to be a barmaid? Because that used to happen to me when I was a
Yeah.
barmaid as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like barmaids get it
Yeah.
unbelievably all the time. And it's just like, sir, you are my grandfather's age. Why do you not understand that this is disturbing to me?
Yeah.
Please stop objectifying me.
And they think they're just being friendly. It's like,
That's
it's
the
weird.
thing that makes it even worse is like they think that they're doing you a compliment. Like they think they're giving you a compliment and that the exchange for them is that you're going to make them feel good about themselves and like they're younger again or something. And it's like, why are we using women always to make old men feel like they are relevant and sexually desirable? It's so, and then the reverse is like never true.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
Patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag burn it. Okay, so Dean says, either you tell us or we tell the missus, and Cliff freaks out and says, okay, it was a game. And Sam's like Xbox? And Cliff is like, what's Xbox? No, poker, high stakes. Instead of cash you play for years. And Dean's like, what the hell? What is that supposed to mean? And Cliff says, I know it sounds crazy. Guy comes up to me in a bar, invites me to play, gives me 25 of these weirdo poker chips, right? Chants some mumbo jumbo over them, says how they're 25 years. I'm laughing, but then I come out up and look at me. And Sam asks what he was chanting, and Cliff just laughs and is like, how would I know? And Dean says, what does this miracle worker look like? And Cliff says that he's just a guy and he's 35 with brown hair, Irish accent, and his name was Patrick. And Dean asks where the game is. And Cliff says that he likes to keep it moving. It's never in the same place, for any length of time. And he says, thank you. And then Dean turns around and goes, and stay classy. And I would love to say that he was like making a dig, but he really wasn't. Deviant Dean.
Well, I wrote, he looks around as if to say, this isn't classy. But I feel like I need to call him out because this is what he would do.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But yeah. So Dean's on the phone to Bobby. He says there's law about the travelling card player, and if you beat him, you get your best years back. He also points out that most people lose, of course. And then Bobby asks if they've found him yet, and Dean says there's a lot of places he could be, so they need to split up. And once he hangs up, Bobby grabs his keys and leaves the house. So we think, he's going to go and help.
Yeah, that is what we think. But no. That's not what he's doing.
No. Oh, Bobby. So a bit later, Dean is on the phone to Sam asking if he's found anything. So they've obviously split up. Neither of them have. They arrange to meet back at the motel, and Dean orders a beer and talks to the barman, asking if he knows if there's a poker game going on in the back. And he says no. Dean bribes him. He tells Dean to go outside and then down an elevator. So there must be like a basement bar in this place. And as Dean gets there, Bobby comes out and says that he played and lost. Oh no, Bobby.
Oh dear.
Dean calls Bobby an idiot and asks how many years he's lost, and he says 25.
Yeah, and Dean says, are you kidding me? You played some he-witch? And I was like, Bobby is also a he-witch, just saying. Yeah. There's like such hypocrisy in this show about witchcraft. And Bobby's like, don't take that tone with me. And Dean's like, you idiot. And Bobby's like, they're my years, I can do what I want. And Dean's like, how many did you lose? And he says 25, like Laura said. And then he starts aging before Dean's eyes, and it's real bad. Real bad. Like, he looks like he's hanging in by a thread. And Dean's like, we're not done here. So they go in to find Patrick, who is charming a woman who appears to be with a much older man, which is where my rant came from. Because I was just like, why? Just why? Just stop it. And then there's all the old man stuff. There's so much creepy old man to young woman ratio stuff going on in here. Yeah. I was like, what? So this is where we meet Leah, and Patrick is very charming and says that she has exquisite posture and she used to be a dancer, and she laughs. And he says, not much of a drinker, very independent, looking for adventure. And Dean suddenly comes up behind Patrick, grabs him by the arm and says, hey man, excuse me, can I borrow you for a sec? And then he shows him the gun. Patrick looks at the gun, and then Dean, and says, "Oh yeah, of course, great, good to see you." Dean grins, nods, and kind of plays along, and then they go off to a corner. And Patrick asks the other people who are around to excuse him. And then Dean says, "Sorry to cut you short with Mr. and Mrs. Easy Marks over there." And Patrick says, "Oh, no big." And then he holds up a watch that he stole from the old man and says it wasn't a total loss. And then under the table, Dean pulls the gun out and he says, "Look, I don't know what it is that you think I did to your wife or girlfriend." Dean looks confused and he's like, "Mother or sister, but I just want you to know my feelings were real." And I thought that was really funny. And then I'm like, I'm not sure if we're supposed to think that they have an open relationship, which I don't think that we are, or if we're supposed to think that this is like him just winding Dean up.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it made me laugh. Dean says, "That ain't my problem, Manwich. You owe my friend some years." And Patrick says, "Oh, that's what this is. I'm sorry he lost them's the breaks." And Dean says, "Well, then unloose him." And then he cocks the gun. And Patrick says, "Oh, go ahead and shoot me if it makes you feel better. Besides, I could use a good, tickle. You want years? Great. Play me for him." And Dean says, "Fine." And Bobby comes up to the table. And Bobby's like, "Dean, no." And Dean says, "They're my years. I can do what I want." It's my party and I'll cry if I want to. It's actually really cute, really sweet, because obviously, like, Bobby is like Dean's dad, and we're watching Bobby age and die in front of us. And can I just say the old age makeup is amazing, because that's kind of like what Jim Beaver looks like in his older years. It's like similar enough that you can say, "Oh my gosh, that was a really good job." So Bobby starts coughing and Patrick holds up a cough drop and says, "Lozenge." And Bobby's wheezing like he's on his like absolute like dying breath. And Patrick says, "What? It's barely linty," because they give him both a look. And he says, "Okay, well, suit yourself, just trying to help." And Dean says, all right, come on, let's do this." And Patrick says, "You understand the terms." And then he sets a case on the table with all of the chips in it, and he starts chewing on a toothpick, which is his whole thing, isn't it? And then he says that the buy-in's 25 years. And Dean says, "Make it 50. And Bobby looks at Dean like, "What are you doing?" Patrick says, "I like the cut of your jib." And they kind of smirk at each other. And then he says some Gaelic. Now, I couldn't find I didn't find anybody had already translated it. So I have no idea what he's actually saying. And then we see some magic happening, basically. And Dean says that his 25 years are going to go to Bobby. And he pushes everything into the middle of the table. And then he says, and he's cashing out. And Bobby says, "Dean." And Dean says, "Bobby." And Patrick says, "Are you sure?" And Dean says, "Yes." So he nods and he transfers it with another spell. And then he says, "That's 25 years you just pissed away. Better be sure you can win him back." And Bobby's back to normal. So Dean says, "Shuffle up and deal." And Patrick laughs. And Patrick says, "This is going to be fun."
Yeah. So then we cut back to the motel, and Sam comes back with dinner and calls out for Dean, and an old man voice replies. So Sam quickly gets his gun out, and an old man comes out of the bathroom. Sam points his gun at him, and he's like, "Who the hell are you?" That was the thirst trap. And the old man says, "Dude, relax, it's me." Sam's like, "Dean?" And then old Dean looks really sheepish and he says, "Hi."
Yeah.
And Sam asks what the hell happened. And old Dean says, "Oh, I, found the game." And Sam said, "I thought you were good at poker." And he says, "I am, shut up."
That's my favorite line. He's like,
I
thought you said you were good at poker." He's like so shocked he can't even get the words out. He's like stuttering.
Yeah.
And that's the funniest line, I think, in the whole episode. He's like, "I thought you were good at poker."
Yeah, and Dean's like, "Were you just gonna shoot some old guy?" And Sam says, "I didn't know what you were. I mean, have you seen you?" "You look like," and Dean says, "the old chick in Titanic." "I know, shut up."
And Sam says Emperor Palpatine, and I was like, "No, that's a bridge too far."
Oh, yeah,
That's
is that
mean.
Star Wars? Star Wars? Yeah, Star Wars, isn't
Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this actor does not look that old.
No.
He's a very distinguished looking gentleman. How dare you?
most of the people, when they say old man, like we're going to say old man quite a lot in this. I mean, they're like 60, 70. They're not that old.
Yeah.
I think there's a
he's
couple that are older than
playing
that.
older as well. Like
Yeah.
they've aged him up a bit, and I think he's playing older than he is.
I suppose if Dean's 30,
he's supposed to be in his 80s.
Yeah, but he doesn't look that old, definitely. And if Dean's 30, what did he just do? 25 years. So
yeah. Well, but 25 was the buy-in, and then there was another 25 on top of that. So I think it's 50, which is why I'm saying 80.
No, because he cashed 25 out for Bobby, so he was playing with 25.
Yeah, but the 25 that he cashed out, I thought came from him. So I thought it was like they added 50 years, and this guy's supposed to be playing 80-odd-year-old Dean.
I don't know. He doesn't look that old. How old's Bobby supposed to be? Because I think he's supposed to be like the same sort of age as Bobby, isn't he?
Yeah. So Bobby was born in the 50s. So in the 2000s,
Like
doesn't
60.
that make him in his 60s or 70s or something?
60s, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that's what I don't think it really matters.
Maybe we were thinking too deeply about this.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about poker. I don't understand.
So then Bobby comes in to the motel and Dean rolls his eyes. That was really funny. He rolls his eyes straight away. Bobby and Dean start bickering and Sam laughs. He's like, it's like grumpy old Ben. And then Dean and Bobby in unison say, "Shut up, Sam."
Yeah.
And that was fun.
So Dean is like, "What the hell were you thinking? He's a witch. He's been playing poker since guys wore tights." And that was pretty funny. And Bobby says, "You just don't get it." And Dean says, "Yeah, I get it, Bobby. You saw a chance to turn the hands of the clock back and get out of that damn chair. Pretty tempting, I can imagine." And Bobby says, "No, you can't." Dean says, "You got me. I've never been paralyzed, but I'll tell you something. I've been to hell, and there's an archangel there wanting me to drop the soap. Look at me. My junk's rustier than yours. You hear me belly aching, huh?" And Sam's like, actually, yeah."
I didn't understand. Again, it might just be me thinking too much about this, but if Bobby had won back, say, like 30 years and he was younger, would that have meant that it's not time travel? Would he have been out of the
It's
chair?
not time travel.
But I was like, he'd still be in a wheelchair? He'd just be younger, wouldn't he? Like, it doesn't take away his injury unless it reverses time, or you just take into
Right, I see what you're saying. Well, so magically speaking, it depends on how the spell operates. So if the spell only operates on, like, I'm taking you back to this age,
yeah,
I still see the logic, because at that age he hadn't been injured, so he would reverse into that age, which would heal him by default. And the other thing is, like, old Dean is clearly supposed to be older than Bobby. I'm sticking with he's 80. If you guys agree with me, write 80 in the comments on this episode. If you agree with Laura, write whatever age you think him and Bobby are, and let us know.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose he could have put a caveat in as well. He could have made that part of the bet. Anyway, I think I was overthinking this episode too much.
The details. It's because when he was, let's say he was 20. When he was 20, he didn't have a severed spine. So he's fine. So if you make him 20 again, he's fine. That's how it works. Okay. So then Dean tries to eat a burger, thinks that he's dying, and Bobby tells him that it's acid reflux and that he can't just eat anything that he wants to anymore. And that was actually pretty funny. And then Bobby, it's kind of funny, but also I was like, Bobby, Dean just saved your life. Why are you giving him so much shit forevermore? It's because he cares about him. But they both just can keep fighting, because, like, Dean's angry that Bobby risked his life, and then Bobby's angry that Dean risked his life for him, and it's just a typical Winchester back and forth of, like, people folding over themselves trying to save each other. It's standard. So then they talk about the incantation, and Bobby remembers every single word. So Sam's like, "We're just going to steal the chips then. We steal the chips, we say the words, and then we can just reverse this and get all the years back." And they're like, "Yes, this is a great plan."
Solid plan.
It is a solid plan. Dean this entire time is wearing a bathrobe, and Bobby says, "Go put some clothes on." He eventually gets dressed, This is when old man Dean goes to the door and there's the maid
Ugh.
who he hits on because he's forgotten he's an old man, I guess. And she says
Mm.
that you're like my grandfather. And he laughs. Sorry, she laughs at him when he says that he's dangerous, which was kind of funny. And then Dean, who's upset about being old, is like, "Can we just go?"
Yeah.
Like a child.
My notes were
Basically.
just bath. That's all I wrote.
Get in the bath. Filthy animal.
No, bath as in being sick. Bath.
Oh, barf. Your
Yeah.
accent swallowed that R, friend.
Bath.
Barf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Barf.
Bath. So Bobby, Sam, and Dean sit in Bobby's van watching people go by. Patrick comes out of the building. He checks his watch and crosses the street without looking. Noticing too late that a car is coming, it slams right into him. The driver gets out and his neck is broken. Okay? Broken. Like the vertebrae are clearly out at the wrong angle. The driver
Blech.
screams, "Get some help. He came out of nowhere right in front of me." From the camera's perspective, we're like now looking at Bobby, Sam, and Dean watching this. Another car drives by and Patrick is in the driver's seat. The driver and the construction workers look behind him where Patrick got hit by the car and there's like nothing there. So I read this as like he stole this guy's car.
Yeah, that's what I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dean says, "I gotta say, I kind of like the guy."
Of course he does.
Of course he does. See, now that's canon Dean though. Like I will
Yeah.
allow that fuckery. That's true to Dean. So then we cut to the apartment building and they all three of them follow Patrick there, watch him leave the building, get in his car and drive off. Dean looks at Sam, who looks at Bobby, who looks at Sam, who looks back at Dean, who looks at Patrick leaving. Then we cut to the inside of the apartment building. Dean holds the door open while Sam rolls Bobby inside. Sam and Dean let Bobby roll himself. Bobby stops and sighs and says, "Well, I'm out," because there's a sign on the elevator that says "Elevator out of order. Sorry for the inconvenience." So then we see the stairs. Sam is jogging pretty effortlessly up this huge flight of stairs with no difficulty. Dean is struggling as an old man. Sam says, "Dean," and then points to the sign with this big tube because they're only on the second flight of stairs. And Dean's like dying. Dean glares at the sign and then keeps going up the stairs.
This building was like a big skyscraper as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like a huge thing of like condominium after condominium type deal, isn't it? So it's a lot of floors.
Yeah. Also, I did enjoy the score here. It's kind of like a jazz kind of thing, but it kind of just gave hijinks.
Yeah, hijinks music.
Yeah, which was funny.
So we cut to a corridor at night. Sam leaves the stairwell. There's a long pause, and then Dean follows, and he's breathing really hard, looking like he's about to pass out, fall over, die, something like that.
Yeah.
Sam sorts through the lockpicks in front of the room, and then the lock clicks open from inside the apartment, and they go inside, and we see that there are witches' bells hanging on the door. So if you're a witch, then you already know, but if you're not a witch, witches' bells are often hung on actual door handles to provide usually protection, but also can be used as an alert to the witch, like a home security system, magically speaking. Some people set their bells like that. Some are there to ward off just evil spirits or ill intent, but there are some that are supposed to be like anti-burglary style stuff. So I feel like this is a good time to drop my Lauren because it's looping us back to the whole magic of everything. So I was looking at like, are there similar stories? And it definitely goes along with lots of folklore about how bets and wagers, bargains are a really recurring motif. Usually this is about themes of like arrogance or wit or the dangerous consequences of dealing with higher powers or the devil. They usually revolve around impossible tasks. or tricking supernatural entities. So there's a couple of different examples from various pieces of folklore. But one that I thought was interesting was the architect and the devil, where there is this story about Cologne Cathedral being built. The devil bets that he can finish the water pipe from the Eiffel Mountains to the city before the architect finishes the cathedral. The architect relies on the devil's ignorance of engineering, but the devil tricks the architect's wife into revealing the secrets. The devil ultimately wins the bet by snatching the architect away, though the tale often highlights the devil's ability to be tricked. I thought that was kind of interesting because it's sort of similar along the lines of what's going on here. But there's other times where they're like wagering their life, um, where bets test whether they can live or not. So my favorite example of this is from a story called The Gambler McCabe. And this comes from like an Irish lore site that says if you dig a little deeper into old Irish tales, there's a story of Gambler McCabe, also known as, and then there's long Gaelic words that I'm just not even going to try. I'm just not, because I can't do that. No one can do that unless they're Irish. And they say it's hard to find a translation that does the story justice, and the best link is to the untranslated one. But simply, it's a story of a gambler who runs into death and, of course, decides to make a wager against his own life. McCabe wishes for life until a candle burns down. Death gives him what he asks for, and the candle is produced, basically. McCabe immediately extinguishes the flame with his fingers, meaning the candle can never burn down.
Yeah.
It's not the only trick that he pulls on death in the story. And it's not the only version of the Faustian deal that has echoes of Robert Johnson mixed in with a really bad bet, they say, which I thought was pretty witty. So that is linked in my show notes if you want to have a look at that. But I just thought it's really interesting because it's like an Irish guy making a bet with a supernatural force to extend his life beyond reasonable means. And if we look at fairy bargains in Celtic folklore, we're going to see a lot of kind of similar themes going on of people suddenly aging. Like they get involved with the fae. Sometimes they make a bet or a bargain. Sometimes they perform a task or they just get taken. And then when they return, their mortality hits them and they suddenly age and die. There's also a lot of different stories in Celtic folklore about transformation, shifts, being kept in a particular state for a very particular amount of time. It's just kind of like has a lot of elements of fairy bargains and elements of Celtic folklore without, as far as I can tell, directly drawing from one particular story. But I thought that Gambler McCabe is probably the closest that we see to the Patrick character.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's my lore.
That's interesting. Cool.
Thank you. Okay, so they break into the apartment and find this safe. And Dean says that it's a dime store model and it's going to be a piece of cake, but then he has serious issues because he obviously needs bifocals, but he doesn't have them. So he's struggling. And Sam says it's like mission pathetic. Watch out. And this whole time, Sam is so mean to Dean.
Yeah, that was funny. I did just want to point out the candles, though. When they come in, there's so many candles burning everywhere. And I was like, well, either this is a fire hazard or it should have been a clue that someone was home.
Yeah, this is a good point. I just thought, and I was like, candles, witchcraft. Yes, this checks out.
Yeah. I like the mission pathetic line. That was good.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
So Sam physically pushes him out of the way and breaks in, and there are loads of poker chips in the safe. And Dean's like, I could have done that. And we're like, sure you could. Sure. So Sam just kind of frowns at him like, you're so full of shit, and then grabs loads of chips. And Leah comes from around the back and says, what are you doing? And this is when we as an audience realize that she's in on the con.
Yeah.
So Sam and Dean turn around and she's standing there wearing this large silver locket, and they make a point of the character drawing our attention to the locket over and over again. They're like, pay attention, this will be important later, kind of a thing. Dean asks if she's the chick from the bar, and she says, I'm a lot more than that. And she throws up a hand, clenches a fist, and twists, and Dean doubles over. Patrick hurries up and puts a hand on her arm and says, it's all right, sweetheart. It's all right. They're harmless. So she thinks they're breaking in to like attack them, hurt them. And Patrick de-escalates the situation. This again is where he's like a complex character because they could have killed them, but they don't. He says, "You boys want chips? Take them. They're just chips, Einsteins. It's showmanship. This may come as a shock, but the magic does not lie in a pile of crappy plywood or in any phony abracadabra. It's in a 900-year-old witch. You want years? Score 'em the old-fashioned way, Texas Hold'em."
Wow,
And he's chewing on his
900
toothpick.
years. He's done a lot of poker games.
He's done a lot of stuff. Yeah. Dean says, "Fine, let's do it." And Patrick pulls a card out of his pocket, which is the 8 of hearts, and says, "What card am I holding up?" And Dean squints and doesn't answer because he has no idea. And Patrick says, "That's what I thought. If your eyesight's that bad, what about your memory? I'm not a murderer. You, on the other hand." And then Dean looks back at Sam because that's who he's looking at, who's still, young and fit and able to play. And again, I thought this was interesting because it shows that he's got some sense of honor. Like, is he a good man? No, but he has some kind of sense of honor.
Yeah. Although he doesn't think he's a murderer, but he is.
Oh yeah, no bad guy ever thinks they're the bad guy. Yeah. So Dean says no to Sam doing it, and Sam's like, "Dean," and there's a whole Sam, Dean, Sam. And Patrick says, "What, Sam? Not much of a player? Okay, well, happy trails, Dean. Enjoy the twilight of your life. Should have taken better care of that ticker, though." And this plays with our emotions because, like, Dean basically has a heart attack as an old man in this episode, and it's very, like, upsetting and jarring. Which, again, is why I sort of struggle to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, not Dean. Stop it. So he says they're free to go. And they leave. And Patrick says, "Oh, but Sam, your brother's situation, that's punishment enough, but I can't let you leave without a small parting gift." And he sarcastically slowly claps 3 times.
Yeah.
And then Sam, as they're leaving, has an uncomfortable sensation. Okay. And Dean starts laughing and says, "He gave you the clap."
Uh-oh. Do you know what I thought the first time I watched it?
What did you think?
Well, I just wrote my notes. I didn't understand what he was doing here at first. I thought he was slow clapping at him because he started the apocalypse.
Maybe it was both.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
And then I wrote, "Oh, he gave him the clap, literally."
Literally.
Yeah. So yes, then they leave and they're in like a car park and they have to go up a steep incline to get out of this car park, and Bobby can't roll up the hill. Poor Bobby. And I wrote, they're really putting him through it today to make the point that he feels depressed and useless. Sam wants to play like the poker game, but Dean tells him he can't because both him and Bobby lost and they're better at poker. And Dean's like, "Sam, when you're our age," and Sam says, "You're 30, Dean." And
he says it in such a tone. Like, Sam is done with both of them.
Yeah.
Sam is like, "You were both idiots."
This I did find a fun fact on IMDb that it's just about their ages, and it says Sam says, "Dean, you're 30," and in real life Jensen was 31 at this time and Jared was 27. They were both a year older than the characters they play. Fun fact. So Bobby agrees with Dean and says he should do it. And Dean says he doesn't have enough years in the bank to do it. And Sam says, "Well, he'll die if he loses." And Bobby then says, "Well, what if I do, huh? What exactly am I living for?" And then this is the sad bit because he's getting really upset because he feels like he's old and useless. Now he's in the chair and he isn't a hunter anymore. And if he wasn't such a coward, he would have killed himself by now, is basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I was sad. I wrote, before Dean kind of says this later, and I'd written, "Poor Bobby, he's not useless. He has so much knowledge to help all of the hunters."
Yeah.
And I do understand why he feels the way he does, obviously.
Yeah,
but
of course.
He still has value. He's the knowledge guy.
Yeah, of course. Like, he's the best witch ever.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate witch, and he doesn't need to be fully physically able to be a badass witch or like to give someone really sound advice or to tell them that they're being idiots or to like coordinate phone calls and strategize. And a lot of the stuff that Bobby has done in the show has not really been all that physical.
Yeah.
A lot of his skill sets have been mental. So him being somebody using a wheelchair does not mean that he's like useless at all. But like, so it's like we understand why he feels that way.
Yeah.
Because he's been through a lot. So we understand where it's coming from for sure. But it's really nice when Dean gives him that speech a little bit later on. You're like, yeah, Bobby, yeah.
Yeah. See, Bobby has all the connections as well. Because if you think back to the episode where Sam wasn't like being a hunter anymore, and he calls Bobby, and then Bobby kind of mobilizes some other hunters to go and check stuff out. So he has all the connections.
He does. I feel like he really is the Charles Xavier of this world.
Yeah. So I had a fun fact, and I found this on the Supernatural wiki page, and it says, in this episode, it's suggested that Sam is the weakest poker player among Bobby, Dean, and himself, yet he's the only one of them that won. And in real life, Jared Padalecki won the 2006 Bodog Fight Celebrity Poker Tournament in Canada. I think it's Bodog. Is that how you say that?
I don't know. I'm not looking at it.
So yeah, he won a celebrity poker match.
Yeah, that was really
which
cool.
is fun. Or a tournament, sorry, a whole tournament he won.
Yeah.
So he's the better poker player in real life.
Yeah.
I just like that.
So we go to the motel and Leah's already there. She's sitting on the bed and she's holding up a piece of paper and says, take it, it'll help you. And Bobby asks what it is. And she says it's the most powerful reversal spell you've ever laid your eyes on. And Dean says, and it reverses what? And she says, Patrick's work, all of it. And Dean says, are you saying I could be normal again? And Leah says, you and everyone else he's ever played who's still alive. She's like, it's not going to bring back the dead. And Dean says, why the hell should we trust you? And she says, trust me, don't trust me, I don't care, the spell is real. And then she gets up to leave. And Bobby says, if it zaps everyone, don't that include your man? And she says, and me too, I look good for my age. And Bobby says, lady, this don't add up for squat, why would you want to do that? Hang the lantern. She says, I have my reasons. And then we get, it's like the locket. The locket is important. And we're like, she's going to have a child. And the child's going to be dead. She's super old and it's very sad. And that's exactly what happened, to be fair.
Yeah.
So she says, do it quick. We leave town tomorrow. And they kind of look at each other like they're not totally sure if they're going to take it seriously or not.
Yeah. I didn't know what to think here, actually, because I was like, why would she want to? But yeah. We then see Patrick playing poker with a really old man, and we see he has 2 kings and the man has 2 nines. The old man makes a bet and Patrick folds, even though he knows he would win. And he then says it looks like he's up by 13 years and says they should call it a day. The old man looks relieved and thanks him. Patrick starts talking to someone behind the man, and it's Sam. The man leaves and Sam says, that was nice of you. And Patrick says that he's a nice guy. No, he's not. And asks what Sam wants. He is a little bit.
He's a little bit nice. Not a lot nice.
When he feels like it. Nice. And he asks what Sam wants. Sam sits down and says, deal. And I just wrote, no, Sam, and lots of exclamation points.
I thought that was a little bit of a thirst trap. Because I was like, Sam's going to save the day. And then he does. I was so proud of him.
Then we get a grave digging scene, which is hilarious because it's like, again, like the 2 grumpy old men.
Yep.
Dean's digging it and Bobby's watching. And I just wrote, Bobby and old Dean are hilarious as a grumpy old man double act.
Dean says, my elbows, I'm all creaky.
Yeah.
And Bobby says, hurry up, you crybaby.
He's rolling his eyes at him all the time as well, which is funny.
Yeah, and he says, pound it up your ass, Ironsides. And Bobby says, one little grave. And Dean says, then you do it. And Bobby says, fine, I'll hop right in. Super sarcastically. And he says, well, at least your legs are numb. And Bobby says, shut up and dig, Grandma. And then he's like, oh, now it's my back. And Bobby says, can you straighten up? And he's like, yeah, but a little sympathy wouldn't hurt. And Bobby says, butt tingling. And Dean's like, well, that's kind of personal. And Bobby says, so yeah. And Dean looks up and he says, it's sciatica. You'll live. Keep digging. And Dean says, Bobby killing you is officially on my bucket list. Aww. No, it was funny. It was clearly sarcastic. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we got to the poker game with Sam and Patrick. This is my only notes are just, this is when I decided what I felt about Patrick, and I wrote, I don't like Patrick. I know he's a murderer, but even ignoring that, I just don't like him. He's smarmy and smug, and I just really want to punch him in the face.
If you also wanted to If you also wanted to punch Patrick in the face, leave a fist emoji in the comments.
Like I said, he's a good. The actor is good. It's not anything against him. It's just this character. I'm just like, nah, punch him.
The actor's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sam asks what he means when he says, "I can tell a lot about a guy by looking," and says, "You mean you're psychic?" And Patrick says, "No, that would be cheating. I'm talking about good old-fashioned intuition." And Sam says, "Right, let's play." And Patrick says, "We are playing." And he puts the glass down next to a toothpick that he had in his mouth, which is important. And he asks if his big brother knows that he's there. And Sam says, "Bet 5," and drops 5 chips. And Patrick says, "Didn't think so." And they basically have a kind of back and forth where he says, "Here you are, right, trying to clean up their mess, and they still want you to sit at the kiddie table." Because I think to a degree, he maybe suspects that Sam is being used as some kind of something. And Sam is trying to not give into the mind games. Like, as I understand it from reading lots of books, not from playing poker ever, but watching movies and reading lots of books. It's normal for certain types of players to try to use like psychological manipulation tactics to get in people's heads and make them mess up. So I didn't really see this as Patrick being like a bad person. I was like, well, he's just playing really aggressive poker. I didn't really take it personally, which if I was a Sam girl, I probably would have been more angry. But
well, he's just kind of picking up on like the sibling thing, and like Sam being the younger sibling, isn't he?
Yeah. Sam's having none of it. He says, "Does this armchair psychology routine usually work for you?" And he says, "You tell me, you're the one who's losing." And that was a pretty witty piece of banter.
And in fairness, it does kind of look like it's working.
Yeah. As we're watching the scene, it does.
Do you think this is part of the big bluff right from this point with Sam? Like, he knows.
Oh yeah,
already.
I think Sam is Stanford Sam. Can we just say, like, Sam is an actual genius. So I do think he planned all of this out, and he's manipulating Patrick. And that's another reason why I don't find Patrick to be like the big bad, because he's getting played the entire time by Sam.
Yeah.
So Leah walks in and distracts Patrick on purpose. Sam grabs the toothpick, and we think that it's the right one, and like he's got the right thing. Runs to the back of the bar while they're taking a break and gives Dean the toothpick. And then Bobby and Dean try to do the spell while we get some back and forth between them doing the spell and Sam playing Patrick at poker.
Yeah.
And the spell doesn't work, basically. Dean's like, "Well, how do I look?" And he still looks old as fuck.
Yeah, Bobby looks really defeated.
Yeah. Supernatural Wiki agree with me, can I just say, because Supernatural Wiki says Bobby doesn't reply. The truthful answer is 80 years old. So we cut back into the bar area where Patrick's looking at Sam and says, "Question." And he holds up a toothpick and he says, "Is this what you meant to give your big brother?"
Oh.
And Sam doesn't give anything away. Leah does kind of look like, "Oh shit," in the background. So we can tell that they were sort of like in on this together. She definitely distracted him on purpose, trying to get him the ingredient that he needed for the spell. And Patrick loses his temper and says, "I don't like cheating, Sam." And then he starts to choke Sam, and Leah looks really kind of distressed in the background, like she's not too sure what she's going to do about this situation. She sort of freezes. And then she shouts,
quite scary here.
Yeah, she shouts, "Stop it," and tells him to let him go. And Patrick says, "He tried to kill us." And Leah says, "I did it. I gave him the spell." And then he's shocked and lets Sam go. And he's like, "What? Why would you do that?" And she says, "You know why." And we see attention being brought to the locket again. Just in case we're dense, all right? They really want to drive this home for us.
Yeah.
The night is dark. they add a blue light to tell us that it's nighttime. The locket's got a dead child in it, clearly. She's every single scene, they're like, look at this giant ass locket.
Yeah. I thought, when he gets up and he's like, what? He doesn't understand. He like grabs her head. I was like, oh my God, he's going to snap her neck. He's going to snap her neck. But he didn't.
No, he loves her. He like truly loves her.
When I first watched it, I was like, because I don't like it when people do that.
Your anxiety was like, no, I can see that. So Patrick says, keep playing. And Leah looks away. And Sam's like, oh, fuck, what am I in for now? So
such venom as well. Like he's really scary here.
He's angry, yeah. Bobby and Dean, meanwhile, are in the van still. And Bobby's saying everything we put in that spell was kosher. And Dean says, yeah, everything except the damn toothpick. He says it like Sam has one job. That's the tone. Bobby's like, you got to get a speck of DNA, strap on your track shoes. And Dean's like, oh goody, more stairs. Because they obviously now have to go back to the penthouse to get some DNA to do the spell.
Yeah. But then we cut between the poker game and Dean trying to find the DNA. So he's in the apartment and he's saying the place is too clean. And he says, first witch I've ever heard of that didn't spew bodily fluids all over the place. Rude. He
says that really all the time. Can I just say? And Bobby's standing right there, okay?
Yeah. I don't know any witches who spew bodily fluids all over the place. Just saying.
Me neither.
Bobby is on the phone, is telling him to find a toothbrush or a comb or something. And then we cut back to the poker game and Sam is starting to play well. So Patrick tries to unnerve him by bringing up Dean again. He tells Sam that Dean will be dead soon, and he means in minutes. Sam tries to run off because he loves Dean, but Patrick forces him to stay and tells him he can't leave until the game is over. And in the apartment, Dean collapses. And then Sam seems to panic and goes all in to end the game so he can go off and find Dean. And this was just really tense. And I did think Dean was going to die again.
Yeah. You think everybody's going to die because it looks like Sam is about to lose. Dean's about to die. Bobby isn't just not going to do well with that information. We already know his mental state's not great. So it's just really like, oh,
yeah. No. Oh. But Sam does win.
Yep.
I can't remember what the hand was now. I didn't write it down. But he had like 4 4s or something.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 4s and Patrick had 3 aces.
Yeah. Patrick has the aces of clubs and diamonds, according to this transcript.
Yeah, and there was already an ace on the table. So that's
and there was already an ace, so it's 3 aces. He says, I'm sorry, kid, ace is full. And then
that's a good hand.
Yeah. And then Lee is crying in the background. And because we realized that Leah doesn't want Sam to die. She didn't want things to go this way. She's a good person. And he says, for a witch, you're so nice. It's actually kind of creepy. It's okay. And I was like, rude, Sam. But he says it in a really nice tone, so it's not actually that mean. But just stop it.
Yeah.
So Sam says it was a great hand. And then Patrick goes to clean up. And Sam says,
not as good as mine.
Not as great as 4 4s. So yeah, he has 4 4s.
Yeah.
And Patrick looks at Sam and then down at the cards and he says, well played. You know, that whole going out of your head bit, very method. And Sam smirks. And Patrick says, well, there's more to you than meets the eye. And he raises his glass and Sam nods. And he says, cash these in for Dean, please. And then Patrick says, with pleasure.
He's like, please. He says, please.
Well, see, that's the other thing is like Patrick's a gentleman. He keeps his word and he does it immediately and says, with pleasure. He only is horrible to them when he thinks they're trying to kill him and his girlfriend. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm just saying he's definitely like more of a morally gray villain than he is a straight up villain.
Win when he needs to like make himself young again.
Maybe.
The rest of the time,
this is like it gives me the vibes, the same vibes that I had with like some of the old pagan gods, where it's like just sacrifice bad guys. Do you know what I'm saying? Just sacrifice bad guys, and then we're fine. We're square. I feel like Patrick could be awesome. He could just play this game with like bad guys, demons, and stuff, and save the world, and still be suave and fun, and live for as long as he wants. That's fine. But
It's
yeah.
like the magician episode, isn't it? Where he was just kind of doing his thing when he needed to, like every 20 years or something, when he needed to make himself young again.
Yeah. Murder is still wrong. We're not saying that we condone murder, but we're just saying, like, in comparison to, like, Satan
or like a serial killer.
and a lot of the other villains that we've seen, they feel less bad as supernatural villains, because I can already see the comment section now. No, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying, in comparison to supernatural villains in general, these villains are less villainy than the other villains.
And also, I've been saying he's bad this whole time. Joy's the one that's been defending him.
Wow, saying. Laura. Do you want to do this podcast by yourself?
So Bobby is still on the phone to Dean while he's in the apartment, and he's asking if he can hear him. And then we see normal young Dean, come out of the apartment building, and he does like a little dance and a jump and like clicks his heels in the air. It was really cute.
It was adorable. And Bobby says he's an idiot.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny. So then we cut back to Patrick and Leah, and it's this really like dramatic, sad scene. Patrick says, "I can't do this, Leah," because they're playing a game together, and she says, "Yes, you can," because she wants him to let her go and age and die. She wants to be with her children, and she finally opens the locket, and Patrick's begging her, "Don't make me. I don't want to win." And there are the photos of her daughter, and she talks about outliving her and how terrible it was, and it's not natural, and she doesn't want it anymore. And he says, "You knew when you decided to come with me. This is what you wanted. You're still young. You're so beautiful. You have me." And Leah says, "I miss my family. I'm sorry, Patrick." And he says, "I thought you loved me." And Leah says, "I do, sweetheart. Of course I do. I thought I was cut out for this, but I'm not." And Patrick says, "I don't think I can do this without you." And Leah says, "You got on okay for a long time before you met me." And Patrick says, "Check." And she says, "All in." And it's obviously clear that she's going to lose. He does the same thing. We're not sure, though. We're not like 100% sure until the cards are revealed. And I don't think he is either. And he hesitates before he turns the cards over. And he clearly hates everything that's happening. She says, "Thank you," and dies. And he just puts his head in his hands. It's really, really, really sad. I'm happy for her that she goes off to be with her family in the afterlife and everything. And I'm genuine. I know he's a bad guy, but I'm really sad for him because he's wildly in love with her and thinks they're going to be together forever. And then she decides that she doesn't want that anymore. And so he's left with her death now. And his best friend of however many hundreds of years and like lover is now gone. Yeah.
I do get it. I was a bit, when I was watching it, I didn't have any sympathy for him, though. I was just like, it's not about you, Patrick. When he's like, "I thought you loved me." But yeah.
Well, I just sort of like, I think I related to it because I also have abandonment issues. And so when he's like, "I thought you loved me," I was like, yeah, I understand that feeling. And he doesn't entrap her. He doesn't say no. All he says is, "I thought you loved me." And she's like, "I do love you." And because he also loves her, he lets her go because it's what she wants. If he'd like forced her to stay, then I would have been like, "Fuck you, scumbag." But that's not what he does. He does love her, so he respects her autonomy and gives her what she wants, even though he hates it. So Bobby's saying, "No tricks, you actually beat the guy," and he's like, shooketh. Because he's like, "I can't believe Sam, who's the worst of us, har, 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 actually won at poker." And Sam spreads his arms. And Bobby says, "How the hell?" And Sam smirks and he says, "Just lucky." And it made me wonder. Here's the thing that made me wonder, because we know how smart Sam is. It's like, did Sam kind of let them think that they were all better than him?
Yes.
But secretly he was always really, like, really, really good.
I think so.
I wonder that. I do. So he says, this is the first time I think I've heard Sam say y'all, and it was adorable. He says, "Hey, I'll see y'all guys later." And then he leaves.
To go and get a shot for his gonorrhea.
Yeah. And then Dean says, I shouldn't have called you an idiot. And Bobby says, which time? And Dean says, I'm sorry. I mean, actually, I get it, getting old in a bachelor party and dealing with the crap you got to deal with. Bobby says, don't you go on pity patrol. And Dean says, I'm not. I'm just saying, if I was in your shoes. And Bobby says, you'd never stop complaining. And Dean is like, fair enough. You're not useless, Bobby.
Yeah.
And Bobby says, okay, good talk. And then he goes to roll away. And Dean steps in his path and says, no, wait a minute, listen to me. And he says, you don't stop being a soldier because you got wounded in battle, okay? It's so beautiful. No matter what shape you're in, the bottom line is your family. I don't know if you've noticed, but me and Sam, we don't have much left. I can't do this without you. I can't. So don't you dare think about checking out. I don't want to hear that again. And Bobby says, okay. And Dean says, okay, good. And Bobby says, thanks. Now are we done feeling our feelings? Because I'd like to get out of this room before we both start growing lady parts. And I was like, eye roll, but whatever. I'll
And then
allow
they
it 'cause
ruined
it's
it.
Bobby.
Yeah. I'd written Dean's heart to heart with Bobby is so cute, but then toxic masculinity ruined it because they're not allowed to feel their feelings or they'll turn into girls. Eye roll.
Oh no, not being women, the worst of all fates.
Yeah, they ruined it. It was so cute though up until that point.
Then they have a cute little nickname banter where Dean calls them Ironsides again. They make a joke and then they leave smiling. Bobby though is sighing and still looking kind of unhappy, but there's a glimmer of hope. I feel like he looks a little bit more himself even if he's still sad, and I think that's realistic because someone telling you that they love you is also not going to fix everything for you. Like, it helps, but it isn't going to fix every single thing. So I thought that was like a reasonable ending because, like, I know I've said it before, but one of the things that I hate about sitcom TV is when someone's like, oh no, everything is terrible, and then someone says one nice thing to them and they're like, yes, everything is fine now.
Yeah.
I hate that.
He's helped him see his worth still though. Like, he's
I agree. Yeah.
still helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's the end of the episode.
It is.
So yeah, I get what you were saying at the beginning about it's not my favorite episode. There were some fun bits. Like, I liked the Sam and old Dean running up the stairs and that kind of bit.
That was really funny.
I kind of liked the witchcraft side of it as well. I just didn't like Patrick. And I just felt really bad for Bobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought old Dean was fun. but like you say, not the same as Dean. He didn't feel like Dean.
He did. I always have a hard time with it when another actor plays Dean, like when the younger versions play him. Like, they've grown on me over the last several years, but I don't like this episode. I don't really watch it, so I've probably only seen it like a handful of times, and so I've never been like, oh yeah, that's Dean. I don't know. It just doesn't. I never find it believable that is Dean as an old man, so it just jars for me.
I suppose it's also because, like, you can't get an actor to look exactly like it's not like an older Jensen. It's not like it was like CGI'd and like
they didn't put him in old age makeup, and I think I'm sort of annoyed that they didn't do that. Like, I wanted to see Jensen playing old Dean. Yeah. I mean, I understand that, but still.
Yeah. No, that would have been fun.
We were robbed. Robbed, Laura.
Do you have anything else to say, or do you want to do games?
I love this actress. Her name is Leah. In the episode, her name is Pascal Hutton. She was in Sanctuary. She was in Arctic Air, which I haven't seen, and she was in When Calls the Heart, which I've seen, like, all of that. She's gorgeous. She's an amazing actress. Every single thing that I've watched her in, I feel like she's stolen every scene that I've seen her in. So I actually, until I rewatched it, I suppose, I had no idea she was in Supernatural. And then when I realized who she was, I was like, oh my God. It makes me really happy because she's one of my favorite actresses, genuinely. Like, I love her whenever I see her. I always feel so happy. I always love, just like, yes, she's great. So it's a fun surprise for me, since I love Supernatural so much, to see that, like, she's in a show that I love so much. Shall we play games, Laura?
Yeah, let's play games. So, villain hot or not?
Hot villain.
I just put smarmy and smug. Not for me.
So hot.
Yeah, he's an attractive guy. I just don't. Looks wise, yes. Personality wise, no.
But see, I respect that because obviously, like, you and I feel the same way in that we are not going to call them a hot villain just because they're an attractive actor. So there has to be more to it than that. Like, they have to be charming in some way, shape, or form. You hated him, which is fair. I did not hate him, which is also fair. So,
Yeah.
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 We've got one hot, one not.
Episode scare rating. It's
None.
really scary.
No
Yeah,
scare. I give it a 0. It is not scary at all. There is no scare. Well, maybe the emotional scare of Bobby not being okay. I guess I'll give it a 2.5.
Yeah, okay. Favorite quotes. Oh, I've only got 2. I'm good today. Normally we have like 10.
I have no memory. I'm gonna say it's when he claps. Like, I can't let you go without a parting gift, and then he claps, and then Dean says, "I think he gave you the clap." That's my favorite quote. That's my quote of the episode.
That's funny. I had Sam saying, "It's like grumpy old men," and then Dean and Bobby saying, "Shut up, Sam," together.
That was a really good one.
And then I had, "It's like Mission Pathetic. Watch out."
That was really funny, honestly. It was mean. And I'm like, everybody be nicer to Dean. He's like giving his life away to save people. Stop being assholes to Dean. Jesus.
And he almost died going up some stairs.
Yeah, Bobby gave him shit. Sam gave him shit. Like, everyone's giving him shit, and he's just like trying to save people. Rude.
Thirst trap? Best thirst trap?
I think it is probably Sam when he's won the poker game, because we hardly see Dean. So if I was going to give Dean a thirst trap, it would, and it also, he's smarmy when we see Dean, which is rude. So the only thing in there is more like adorable, which is when he runs out as himself and like does a little heel
he does
click.
a little kick.
Yeah, so he does his like jumping up and down. Yay, I'm young again thing. But that's more adorable than it is hot. So it's got to be Sam winning the poker tournament and saving everyone.
So what you're saying is you didn't find old Dean a thirst trap?
No, I did not. He's a very handsome man. Not gonna lie to you. Like, that actor is very handsome, but not a thirst trap for me.
Mine was Sam pointing the gun at old Dean when he first sees him. I think he's an intruder, saying, "Who the hell are you?"
That was pretty decent. I just thought that was so funny. Like, I didn't. It's good though. It's good. Sam was very like.
I think it was his quick reaction because he's like, "Someone's in here," and he gets his gun out. Yeah,
and Dean's like, "You were just gonna shoot some old dude." Sam's like, "I didn't know what you were. Could have been anything." So funny.
MVP, I put Sam for being accidentally amazing at poker, although he might not have been accidental.
Might not have been accidental. I'm going to give it to Leah for the plan and the execution of the plan, with Sam being like tied or like a runner-up.
Yeah. Okay. And then the motel, I didn't really notice the motel.
I did not notice the motel, which means I guess it's average. Like, it's not ugly, or we would have noticed and been like, ew. But it's also not basic. Great. So basic, we didn't even notice it. So like, I'm gonna give it like a 2.5. That feels like a middle of the road rating.
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. 2.5 is good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So be sure to tune in for our next episode where we will have Navia of Anywhere But Here Fangirl on. Make sure that you follow her and check out her content. I'm super looking forward to the next episode. I think it's going to be so much fun. And then the week after that, we have Spirits and Supernatural on for the convention episode. So that's going to be a blast. So definitely make sure that you don't miss the next couple of episodes coming up, because we're going to have so much fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to both recording both of these episodes.
Same. I'm so excited. I love them both, so I'm like thrilled.
Yeah. And don't forget to send us your thoughts via email to be in a potential mailbag episode.
Yes. You can also DM the podcast on Instagram. You can submit either way. If it's longer, it's probably better on email, just because I think Instagram has like a word count limit for messages and DMs. So it's just going to be simpler to do an email probably.
And I suppose you could also put it in a Spotify comment if it's a short thing. I never know whether people want us to mention the Spotify comments on things. So maybe just
we
tell
need
us
a code.
Yeah.
Or something, because there is a word limit on Spotify comments. So like if you put in, hear me out, the clapperboard, the film clapperboard emoji, then we'll know that you're happy for us to publicly mention your comment and your name.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Use an emoji.
Yeah. That's probably the best way of doing that. So if you want to comment on Spotify, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, so tune in next week and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.